President Trump is on his way to the Middle East with a whole bag full of deals. The question we're asking right now from Israel is, are we going to find ourselves under the bus in all of this arrangement? This is DaviD TaL, and welcome back to the Balagan Connection. And today we've got a very special episode that's talking about something that's unfolding right now. It's unfolding in real time as we speak, and it is massive. President Trump is headed back to the Middle East, not with an army, not with tanks, not with airplanes, but basically he's headed back to the Middle East with deals. And while Israel is still deep at war with Hamas, America is quietly, and sometimes not so quietly, cutting its own deals with Iran, with Saudi Arabia, with the Houthis, and even with Hamas. And now things are about to change. So let's break this down, see if we can understand what's going on, see if we can kind of figure out what's going to go on, because I have a feeling that when we talk in a couple of days from now, everything's going to be different. So let's see what's happening right now. President Trump is on the move in the Middle East, and the U.S. is not just watching from the sidelines anymore. It is directly negotiating with all the different players in the Middle East. The United States is negotiating with Iran about its nuclear program. The United States has negotiated with the Houthis, those Yemenite death for America crazies in Yemen, about stopping the attacks against the global shipping. The United States is negotiating with Saudi Arabia about oil, economics, nuclear cooperation, multi-billion-dollar arms deals. And yes, the United States is even negotiating with Hamas. And we have just now seen the release of an American-born Israeli soldier hostage that was in Gaza, that was released as a result of direct negotiations between the American administration and Hamas in Gaza. And the question that I'm asking, and a lot of us are asking, is where is Israel in all of this? Because for the first time in decades, I mean, literally since I think probably the first Bush administration, for the first time, okay, the U.S. might be working around Israel and not with Israel. Now that I think about it, that is Trump style. I mean, that's classic Trump style. That's all about the deal. Trump doesn't do diplomacy the usual way. He doesn't do diplomacy the way that we work behind the scenes and we send the diplomats. He doesn't do diplomacy the way that we used to see it in the movies about the Soviet Union. He gets on a plane, he walks into a room, he sits down, and he says, let's make a deal. And this is exactly what this trip looks like. I mean, here's the rumors. He wants to put together a regional mega deal. Now, we've been talking about this for a long time. Trump is saying, wait a minute, we don't want to solve only the problems in Syria, the problems in Lebanon, the problems in Saudi Arabia, the problems in Israel with Hamas. We want to make a mega deal, and everybody actually signs on to this. And everybody agrees to this. And as a result of that, he wants to get Iran to agree to pause its nuclear escalation. Okay? Iran, settle down, put it on hold. We'll talk about this. He wants to get Saudi Arabia on the economic and the defensive wagon. And he has to deal with this because Saudi Arabia is saying very clearly, if Iran gets it, we get it. Okay, he wants to get the Houthis to stop firing drones and missiles at ships. And somehow he wants the Hamas and Israel to close a deal, reach a deal. The hostages will be released, and the war actually is over. And I know it sounds impossible, but I think he believes it is possible, and he's on his way to make it happen here in the Middle East. Well, what we do know is that just now, Idan Alexander was an American born to Israeli parents living in New Jersey that decided to come back at the age of 18 and join the military, join the Golani Brigade. And he was taken hostage, just like a lot of the other hostages, from one of the bases on October 7th last year. He's an Israeli American. He has dual nationality, and he has just now been released. Now, don't get me wrong. Release of a hostage is a major deal. It's a major event. I mean, the news here is covering it. Everybody's covering it. The world is covering it. We're all excited about Idan Alexander. We thought we saw him meet his mother and everybody. But here's the kicker. The deal was negotiated directly between Hamas and the Americans without going through the Israeli government. Now, that's huge. That's scary because, first of all, Idan Alexander is an American citizen, but he is also an Israeli soldier. He was wearing an Israeli uniform. And what this is telling us is that President Trump has directly, I have no inkling that Benjamin Netanyahu or anybody in Israel actually was part of this arrangement. In fact, according to the news that we're picking up here, Israel is totally surprised. And the US is talking directly to Hamas, directly to a terrorist organization, directly to people who are designated terrorists by the United States. And the United States did not wait for Israeli approval. The United States says they're being released. Hamas said they're being released. And the only thing that Trump wanted from Israel, by the way, we didn't pay any hostages or prisoners from ours. We didn't make any concessions. We didn't pay anything for this as far as the negotiation is concerned. But the United States made it very clear that they expect us to stop the fighting on the corridor where this release is going to take place. And the question is Israel being left behind? Is Israel being sidelined? And think about this for a minute. Hamas hasn't been defeated. Most of the hostages are still in Gaza. The war is dragged on for over a year and a half. I mean, Netanyahu is under pressure from inside Israel to release the hostages and from the world, and now the United States is negotiating around him. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not something that we're talking about. This is not deep state. This is actually happening. And while Washington says to Israel, we stand with Israel and we believe in your right to defend yourselves, their actions show that they have more or less moved on. They have more or less decided to go on with or without, well, I'm going to say Netanyahu, but with or without Israel. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people in Israel that agree with this. There's a lot of people in Israel that want this. But my main problem on this count is, okay, if we make an agreement with Hamas, if we agree that Hamas is going to come out of this war with some kind of, media moment where they can stand up on the rubble and say, we held off Israel, we held off the United States, we made the Israelis surrender, we made the United States crawl to us. Imagine what that means for the whole Middle East. Imagine what that means for everybody. And again, I have to make this very clear. I'm really, really happy that Idan Alexander is home. I'm really, really worried about the rest of the hostages. I don't know how and what's going to bring them home. But I think we're starting to see a change in the way the dynamics are going around. President Trump doesn't care about victory. He doesn't care about dealing with the rest of the Middle East. He doesn't care, I think, to a certain extent, about people's feelings. And he doesn't even care about, I'm going to say, the long-term future. What he wants is stability. He wants control, and he wants the headlines to say, this is what we're doing. I might be wrong. I might not be reading it. This might be a maneuver, but I think he is saying, enough with the posturing, enough with the maneuvering, enough with the threatening. Okay, you get the idea, we get the idea. Let's sit down and let's negotiate. And here's what it seems, and again, we're going to see what's going to happen next week. We're going to see how it's going to play together. But What he is actually putting on the table is Iran stops enriching uranium above a certain level. They're not going to completely derail. They're not going to completely take away the Iranian nuclear facility, but he's going to get Iran to stop enriching uranium basically to a weapon grade level. And in return for that, relieve all the sanctions, and Hamas and Iran will be able to start rebuilding itself, rebuilding its capabilities, and to a certain extent, rebuilding its proxies. It sees that he's gotten the Houthis to agree to a ceasefire in the Red Sea. Basically, the Houthis have said we're not going to fire at any more ships, and as a result of that, he is going to cease fire against the Houthis. He's going to get Saudi Arabia to normalize ties with Israel, and I'm not even sure what that means, but he's going to do that in exchange for a big U.S. technical, a Bitcoin, cybernetics, AI, and mainly defense deal that billions of dollars from Saudi Arabia are going to flow into the United States, and billions of dollars worth of arms and different technologies are going to flow into Saudi Arabia. It seems that he's going to get Hamas to agree to release the hostages and pause the fighting. And again, the terminology is really, really important. Are we going to pause the fighting? Are we going to stop the fighting? And it seems that for in return for this, Israel is going to get a few more of the hostages back, and a temporary stop to the global pressure that everything's been put on Israel. But did you notice something in all of this? Nowhere in that deal is Hamas defeated. No more in that deal is Hamas taken off the off the scene. In fact, the deal is with Hamas. And that is a huge, huge problem for Israel. From day one, Israel has said that is the red line. A red line means the war isn't only about the hostages, the war is to make sure that Hamas is not going to do this again. And Hamas has said before the war, during the war, and will say it after the war, we are going to destroy Israel. We are going to try to do the 7th of October again and again and again. And what we were about is destroying the Hamas completely. That was the promise after October 7th. And sadly, we're sitting here 580 days later, if I remember correctly, and they haven't been defeated. The hostages, it turns out, have been a prominent issue. A couple of words. Hezbollah, which was deemed much more scary, much more important, much more capable than the Hamas ever was, has been defeated by Israel. Israel has taken out the Hezbollah, has weathered the Iranian response to that, and Hezbollah is no longer, it seems right now, is no longer inactive. But Hamas is still on the ground. Hamas is still waving its flag. The difference is the hostages. And again, I say this with huge amounts of worry, because we are realizing, or the world is realizing, or the enemies are realizing, or the bad people are realizing that the taking of hostages becomes a key element in any kind of struggle with a Western-style democracy, be that Israel, be that the Europeans, or be that the United States. And I'm really worried about how that's going to play out. But now, if the U.S. pushes for a deal that leaves Hamas intact, still ruling Gaza, that breaks something that Israel, I'm not sure, was willing or wanted to do. So, what can Israel do? We can reject the deal and keep on fighting. Or do we go along with it and risk a massive political backlash? And as of now, the pressure is mounting like crazy. There's international pressure on Israel, and the media is turning against Israel, and the people are turning against Israel, and you just watch what's going on. Israel has literally become the boogeyman of the world. The universities in the U.S. have become totally downright anti-Semitic. The UN has become anti-Israel. A word about the UN, by the way, just so we know. I'm going to say something a lot of people really need to hear, and I think this is important to put it in this kind of dynamic, and that is that democracy is the best way to govern a country, but it is based on the rule of the majority. And if anybody reads his Bible or anybody knows anything about the history, the majority isn't always right. And sometimes the majority is downright wrong, which is why Western civilizations have made a huge effort to support and to guard and to take care of its minorities, be that people that are marginalized, be that ethnic minorities. I mean, the minorities, the taking care of the minorities is a biblical aspect, okay? But that means that the majority isn't always doing the right thing. Now, if you think about that for a minute, the United Nations is a democracy of nations, meaning every nation gets a vote, which means that the Vatican gets a vote. Okay, the United States gets a vote, Israel gets a vote, but every Arab nation gets a vote. And if the voting is not done according to ethical and moral standards, but according to political standards, then the tiny Jewish nation, the tiny Jewish people, the remnant of the remnant of the remnant that are God's chosen people, are not going to be the majority in a democracy of nations. We never will, which is why the United Nations on a regular basis has been coming out against Israel. More resolutions against Israel have been made by the United Nations than resolutions against any other nation, including Syria, whose dictatorship slaughtered 500,000 of his own people, and so forth and so on. So the UN has turned against us. Biden and now Trump are pushing for ceasefires, and let's finish this off. And Israel probably, it looks like it is running out of time. Maybe not militarily. We can still go in and do what needs to be done, but diplomatically, I think we're running out of time. And as of now, we still need the American administration. And I don't believe that Israel is ready to go up and kick out our relationship or break our relationship completely with the United States. So, for the first time in years, the Middle East is shifting. The Middle East is moving in a different direction. Look at this. The Iranians are talking to the United States. Again, the Saudis are looking for a way to play a bigger role and to stabilize not just the oil, but other things. The Houthis have become a major player, not just rebels, but I mean, there's baseball cards of Houthis all over the Arab world. Now, remember, these are people who said death to America and death to Israel. Okay, the Hamas may even walk out of this war wounded, but not gone. And Trump is trying to write the next chapter before the current war even ends. This is Trump diplomacy. I'd like to take a couple of minutes and see if we can go over a couple of scenarios that are kind of what can happen now. I mean, what are the possibilities? What is on the ground and in the cards? I'm going to remind everybody from a political point of view, these are different scenarios that we're going to talk about, but from a biblical point of view, we know what the final result is going to be. But let's start off. Scenario number one, the Trump deal succeeds. Trump comes over here, deals with this, deals with that. The hostages are released. The fighting is over. Iran de-escalates. The Houthis settle down. And Saudi Arabia moves toward normalization and everything. And we all breathe a sigh of relief. But we have to accept that Hamas will be left standing. I have to tell you, as an Israeli, as a soldier, as a warrior, as a father, I mean, that just saying that really turns my stomach upside down. Really turns my stomach upside down. And I mean, pray for me that I learn how to deal with the fact that we have let Hamas come out of this war. If this is the deal that works out, we have let Hamas come out of this war standing. And I think it's going to be a terrible blemish on Israel for many years. So that's one. Deal works out, but Hamas is left standing, and everybody says wonderful. Scenario number two. Israel resists the deal. Netanyahu refuses to do this. The IDF keeps on fighting in Gaza. The hostages will be found, not be found. And I'm saying that even if we completely go conquer Gaza and go through with a fine-tooth comb, there are hostages that are buried so deep, I don't know if we're ever going to find them. Which brings me to the scenario that we talked about before. It doesn't make sense to me that Hamas will give back all the hostages no matter what. I mean, it really doesn't make sense. So that's the second scenario. We keep on fighting, and Trump gets frustrated and moves on and says, I'm not going to deal with this. By the way, I think it was Clinton who was in a situation like this. He tried to reach an agreement. It didn't work out. The fighting continued. And in the end, he just threw in the towel. He said, I can't deal with this. I think there's a third scenario that I kind of feel has echoes of biblical prophecy of Ezekiel 38 in them more than anything else. I'm going to call this a false deal, a fake peace, a pseudo deal, an AI agreement. A deal is signed, but nobody really follows it. So everybody signs a deal, but Hamas continues to rearm. Iran, we just now found another nuclear reactor that they were hiding in a factory somewhere. Iran continues to cheat. The Houthis regroup, and this whole thing breaks up, flares up, blows up in 6 months or a year from now. And that's happened before, these kind of agreements that we thought after the first Lebanese war, after the second Lebanese war, we thought we would reach an agreement. The Oslo Accords, anybody remember that? And again, the main issue that Israel is dealing with now, is it going to be hostages or is it going to be victory? And I'm not sure that both can be achieved. And when I say hostages, most people relate to the release of the hostages in a ceasefire with what we would call peace or stability. And the world wants peace. Israel wants victory. And I'm going to say something else. Israel wants justice. And we are going to have to give up on victory and justice in order to have peace. Sometimes these two goals align, but it looks like right now, and I'm afraid, I don't know, and again, I'm praying that I'm wrong, but it looks like right now, victory or peace, and we won't be able to achieve both of them. Now, Trump might pull the rabbit out of this hat. I don't know. And again, he's on his way to a Nobel Peace Prize almost for sure. And this is the dilemma. This is the situation. And I just thought that we'd make a whole balagan of all the different connections that are playing out here. What's going to happen? Is Trump going to pull off a reset? We don't know. Is Israel going to go along with it? We don't know. Will Hamas survive even after all of this? All of these are things that are happening and are being answered right now. This is not conspiracy theories. This is not deep state. This is not anything. This is what's happening right now on the ground. And here's one more thing. I know we're watching it play out on the media. We're watching it play out even here, and I'm sitting down and talking about it. But listen, we just got back from Israel last week, and it's very different to look at it here. I don't know why. When I was there, it was easier for me. It was clearer for me. It seemed like I'm in the place where I'm supposed to be, and everything is in line, even though I didn't know anything more there, maybe a little bit more than I do here. Here, watching it from this side of the Atlantic, it's harder for some reason. And we will be trying to deal with what I feel might be, I think maybe a historical mistake that might be connected. We'll see. And again, as an Israeli, I'm worried. As an American, I'm excited. As a Jew, I'm worried. As a Christian, I have hope. And that, I think, is the Balagan connection for today. I hope that made some sense in everything. And I hope that, we've got a little bit of a better understanding. Before I forget, if you want to be a part of the Balagan Connection, or if you want to be a part of Gihon Springs, which is a ministry that we are working on, we're working with, we were in Israel, we kind of connected to some military units, some widows, some people who actually deal with dogs. Those are the main ministries that we're dealing with. So if you want to be a part of that, leave a comment below. We'll get to you. There are links down here. Go to gihonsprings.com. You can connect to all of that. There's some amazing work that we're doing. And I'm stressing the fact that what Gihon Springs does, it does it on the ground directly with the people. Another thing I want to stress is that me and Christy are back in the States right now, and I'm going to be speaking at a big conference in a week that is connected to the Olive Tree Ministries. And we will be out in Tennessee in the summer, and we will be back in Israel, it looks like, in October. So we're moving around and we're spreading the word. But if you know of a church, a congregation, somebody who wants to talk about Israel and kind of understand what's going on, again, leave a comment below or send me a message. We can do this. And if you found this information, this Balagan and this connection helpful, please, please, please share and subscribe. Leave a comment. That's the most important thing. I love the comments. Me and Chrissy sit down and read them all. And I would be curious to know if you think that Trump's deal will work or not. If you think it will, if you think it won't, do you think Israel should go against this deal or accept it? Please leave a comment and tell me what you think, because we're starting to kind of put all of this together. I'm making another reminder. We're planning on doing trips to Israel that do not go through the regular format of a teaching biblical tour of Israel, but is more a smaller group combination of people who want to come and show their support and pray in Israel. Me and Chrissy are going to be doing it directly. I'm thinking about a couple of pastors who might join us. But if you want to join something like that, if your church is not going to Israel this year and you still want to be a part of what's going on, again, connect to us here. We are starting to put that together. Let us know if you're interested in that. And like I said before, stay informed. Don't believe everything that you see in the headlines. Don't believe everything that you hear. Stay connected to the Balagan Connection. This is DaviD TaL. This is the Balagan Connection. This is Gihon Springs. I hope to see you soon.